I hate the heat. That's probably why I haven't been to Walt Disney World since I was 4, although I do still want to go eventually. I get so much anxiety every time summer comes around, although by the end I'm usually used to it. My husband loves the heat and I get so mad at him for it, like he's the reason why it's so hot. So if you're like me, weather might be a factor when you decide to plan your Disneyland trip. There can be a lot of factors to consider when deciding when you want to visit the Disneyland Resort. Aside from weather, there are things like crowds, holiday seasons, special ticketed events, grad nights, ride closures, and more. Now I get to play the weather girl. The weather from November to March is the coolest, ranging from the high 60s to the mid 70s. December to April are also the rainiest months, although it's not typical to get rain for days on end. So even if you have a rainy day forecasted during your trip, it's not likely to be rainy for your entire trip. Spring warms up to the mid 70s, reaching to the high 70s in June. The summer and early fall is the hottest and driest season, with temperatures in the high 80s and low 90s. By the time October comes around, it might drop down to the low 80s, but it's still pretty dry and warm. As far as crowds, there is no such thing as a dead or not busy Disneyland. It doesn't exist. There's standard busy and crazy busy, but that's about it. Typically, January and February have been lower crowd months. However, this past year, Disneyland came out with an amazing ticket offer for kids in February, and crowd levels were pretty high. Spring break is definitely one of the peak seasons. This can include much of March and at least half of April. The end of April and May are usually not as busy. Late spring and early summer have actually been a bit slower for the last few years. This is in part due to the fact that 2 of the tiers for annual passes are blocked out for June and July. The Halloween season typically runs all of September and October, although it is starting a week early in 2024, and the crowds usually pick up then. November slows down slightly before picking up again in December for the Christmas season, although if you want to enjoy the Christmas vibes, the decorations are up within the first couple of weeks of November without the higher crowds that show up around Thanksgiving and early December and for the rest of the year. At the end of the school year, there are grad nights, which are evenings that graduates come to DCA for a special after-hours event for select days in May and June. There were 15 of them in 2024. You can find those dates on the Disneyland website when they're posted. They close DCA early on those days, at 9 p.m. instead of 10. Of course, anyone with a park hopper would head over to Disneyland at that point, or just book Disneyland only for a single-day park ticket. So you might have lower crowds at DCA that day, but you will probably notice bigger crowds at Disneyland. So you could try to gamble and work around that, and maybe catch a partial bargain at DCA earlier in the day, or just avoid grad nights altogether. In the early part of the year, Disneyland hosts a number of after-dark, separate ticketed events, such as Star Wars Night or Sweethearts Night. These usually run on select evenings during winter and spring. If you want to attend, you need to purchase a ticket separate from your park ticket. These tickets are highly coveted and can sell out quickly. You usually have to be ready to buy them as soon as they're available, first thing in the morning. Disney announces details ahead of time if you're interested. After those events, they don't have any other After Dark events until the Oogie Boogie Bash in September and October, which is also very popular. They did have a Christmas season event one year, but they haven't done it since that one year. Just be mindful of these special event nights, what days they're running, and what parks they're running in, as the park that the event is in will close early on event nights. If you don't have an event ticket, you will have to leave. Other factors to consider are seasonal events. This year they ran Pixar Fest from the end of April till August 4th. They had Season of the Force for most of April, May, and into early June. They have the Halloween season from the second half of August until Halloween. Back to my heat hate. I had been during the Halloween season, and while it had its hot days, we were there in mid-September, I survived and it wasn't that bad. Christmas is from early November until early January. Lunar New Year runs at DCA from early January into February. Food and Wine Festival runs at DCA from early March until the end of April. There are also other events scattered through the year for a few days here and there, so check the calendar if you don't want to miss those or if you want to avoid them because of increased crowds. And amidst all of that are ride closures and large construction projects. Splash Mountain has been closed since spring 2023 to retheme it into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It's expected to remain closed until sometime in the fall of 2024 when the work is completed. Critter Country was closed on May 1st, 2024, and is expected to remain closed for the duration of the work on Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This includes Winnie the Pooh. The Haunted Mansion is also having extensive work being done on the exterior queue in 2024. The ride was closed, but has since been opened with the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay. There is still construction work being done outside, so the ride is on the virtual queue system until the work is completed. And then they have little refurbishments throughout the year. They try to plan more of those for before spring break, but this year is an exceptional one. Disney posts these closures on their calendar, but they're only posted typically about 6 weeks before. So if your trip is booked earlier than that, which it likely will be, keep an eye on the schedule so that you can at least prepare for disappointments. It does seem like they've got some bigger closures this year at peak times, like a Space Mountain closure in early August 2024 for about a month or so. The train and monorail are also closing for longer periods of time in the summer of 2024. I think this all might be to make sure that the park is in tip-top shape for its 70th anniversary in 2025, as well as, of course, the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure this year. You can also anticipate standard closures for the Haunted Mansion and It's a Small World for seasonal overlays, or Grizzly River Run in the colder months for standard maintenance. So with all of those factors, I personally like early May the best for my trips. I also like to go early to mid-November to catch the early part of the Christmas season, but avoid the Thanksgiving busy period leading into December. And, contrary to what some people think, holidays are usually busier at Disneyland, not slow. For example, some of the busiest days can be Easter, Thanksgiving Day, New Year's Day, and Christmas Day. As for which are the least busy days of the week, the reservation system combined with the Magic Key schedule has forced the days to become a little bit more even. I'd say right now, unless it's a holiday or special event, Fridays and Sundays are some of the least busy days now, and Monday and Tuesday are typically the busiest days. Okay, so once you've decided on when you want to go, it's time to figure out where you should stay. Check out our next video to cover that topic. And if this is all too much to remember, grab a copy of my ebook when it's released early September. It's packed with everything you'll learn in these videos, plus extra secrets, tips, and some Disney history to make your trip even more magical. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.